There is a part of the ocean so hostile, so unstable, that even one of the most feared predators on Earth consistently avoids it, not because of instinct, but because something there pushes the limits of survival itself in ways that science is still trying to fully understand. The great white shark has ruled the oceans for millions of years, crossing entire seas, tolerating cold water, pressure, darkness, and long migrations that would exhaust almost any other animal. Yet data collected over decades reveals a strange and repeated pattern, because when these sharks approach a certain region, their paths suddenly change, their movements slow, and then they turn away as if responding to an invisible barrier that no tooth or muscle can overcome. What makes this even more disturbing is that this region does not look dangerous at first glance, because from the surface it appears like any other stretch of open water, calm, blue, and endless. Hiding beneath it a combination of conditions that turn survival into a constant calculation of risk, energy, and biological limits. Scientists notice that sharks approaching this area often display signs of stress, altered swimming depth, and sudden directional changes, behaviors that suggest discomfort rather than curiosity. And unlike prey animals, these sharks are not fleeing from something chasing them, but reacting to the environment itself. For an animal built to dominate nearly every marine ecosystem, avoiding something unseen raises a powerful question, because if great white sharks, apex predators with no natural enemies, choose not to enter a specific part of the ocean, then what exactly is happening there? And what does it reveal about the true boundaries of life on this planet? Where this region is, what makes it so extreme, and why temperature, oxygen, pressure, and underwater geography combine in a way that reshapes animal behavior, forcing even the ocean's most efficient hunters to turn back. The region that keeps appearing in shark tracking data is located in the open ocean, far from coastlines, shipping routes, and human activity, in an area known by scientists as one of the most extreme marine zones on the planet, not because of storms or predators, but because of what happens beneath the surface. This part of the ocean sits above a massive underwater system where water layers do not mix easily, creating sharp boundaries between livable zones and areas that are almost impossible to endure for long periods of time, even for animals designed for deep and cold environments. When researchers began tagging great white sharks with satellite transmitters, they expected to see wide, confident migrations across this region, but instead they noticed repeated detours, curved paths, and sudden changes in depth that made no sense if the sharks were simply hunting or migrating normally. Again and again, different sharks, tracked in different years, showed the same behavior, approaching the same general zone and then turning away, sometimes diving suddenly, sometimes slowing down, but rarely crossing through the center of this area. What makes this region so interesting is that it is not marked by obvious danger, because there are no reefs, no islands, no visible barriers, and no known predators that could threaten a great white shark, which forced scientists to look beyond what can be seen and focus on the physical conditions of the water itself. Oceanographers studying the area discovered that it is strongly affected by deep currents that pull cold, oxygen-poor water upward, creating layers where oxygen levels drop sharply over short distances, turning large sections of the water column into what is often called a dead zone. In these zones, smaller animals can survive only briefly, and larger animals must constantly balance how much energy they use against how much oxygen they can absorb. a calculation that becomes dangerous when oxygen levels fall too low. For great white sharks, which rely on steady swimming and efficient oxygen intake to survive, entering such an environment means pushing their bodies close to failure, even if nothing is actively attacking them. This is why scientists began to suspect that the avoidance pattern was not about fear or instinct, but about biology, because this region quietly tests the limits of how much stress even a top predator can handle before survival itself becomes uncertain. Great white sharks are partially warm-bodied, which means they can keep certain muscles and organs warmer than the surrounding water, allowing them to hunt efficiently in cold environments. But this advantage also comes at a cost, since maintaining that internal heat requires a steady supply of oxygen and constant movement. In areas where oxygen levels suddenly drop, their bodies are forced to work harder to extract what little oxygen is available. And when that supply cannot match their metabolic needs, the result is physical stress that can quickly reduce performance. The region in question is known for sharp oxygen gradients, where levels can fall dramatically within just a few meters of depth, creating invisible boundaries that are safe on one side and dangerous on the other, especially for large animals with high energy demands. At the same time, this area is influenced by strong vertical currents that push deep, cold water upward, disrupting stable temperature layers and making it difficult for predators to find the ideal range where oxygen, temperature, and prey availability are balanced. For a shark that depends on efficiency, this creates a risky equation, because swimming through low oxygen water means burning more energy while gaining less return, and staying too long in such conditions can lead to fatigue, disorientation, and reduced hunting ability. Tracking data shows that when sharks approach these unstable layers, they often change depth repeatedly, as if searching for a comfortable range, and when they fail to find one, they shift direction entirely, choosing a longer but safer route instead of crossing directly through the zone. This behavior is not random, and it is not rare because multiple tagged sharks have shown the same response over time, suggesting that the avoidance is a consistent biological reaction rather than coincidence. In simple terms, this part of the ocean creates an environment where the cost of survival becomes too high, even for a predator built to dominate, and when energy, oxygen, and temperature stop aligning in a sustainable way, the smartest decision is not to fight, but to turn back. Marine biologists have tagged dozens of great white sharks with satellite transmitters capable of recording location, depth, temperature, and movement patterns, allowing scientists to build detailed migration maps that reveal not just where the sharks travel, but how they behave when they approach specific environmental conditions. When these migration routes are placed side by side, a clear pattern begins to appear, because instead of crossing directly through this low oxygen zone, many sharks curve around it, forming repeated arcs in their paths that cannot be explained by prey distribution alone. In some cases, sharks move toward the area in a straight line for hundreds of kilometers, only to slow down as they enter the outer boundary, change depth several times within a short period, and then redirect their course as if testing the water and deciding that continuing forward would be too costly. Researchers have compared these patterns with oceanographic data, including oxygen concentration maps and temperature readings collected by research vessels and autonomous underwater sensors. And the overlap is striking, since the areas with the most extreme oxygen depletion match the same zones where shark movements become irregular or hesitant. Even more revealing is the fact that this behavior is not limited to a single age group or size class, because both mature adults and younger sharks show similar avoidance responses, which suggests that the limitation is biological rather than learned through experience. Other large marine animals, including certain species of tuna and billfish, also show reduced presence in these waters, reinforcing the idea that this is not a mystery directed at one predator, but a broader environmental constraint affecting multiple high-energy species. Over time, the accumulation of this data has shifted the conversation among scientists, moving it away from speculation and toward a clearer conclusion. Because when independent tracking records, environmental measurements, and repeated behavioral responses all point in the same direction, the pattern becomes difficult to ignore. What initially looked like an empty stretch of ocean has revealed itself to be a natural barrier, not made of rock or reef, but of chemistry and physics, quietly shaping the movement of some of the ocean's most powerful animals. Before we close, we need to connect this phenomenon to a bigger question about the future of the oceans and what expanding low-oxygen zones could mean for predators like the great white shark. Low-oxygen zones, sometimes called oxygen minimum zones, are not new in the history of the oceans, but in recent decades scientists have observed that some of these areas are expanding, influenced by rising global temperatures and shifting ocean circulation patterns that reduce the mixing of oxygen-rich surface water with deeper layers. When water warms, it holds less dissolved oxygen, and when stratification increases, meaning warm water stays separated from cold water below, the natural replenishment of oxygen becomes weaker, slowly enlarging regions where survival becomes more difficult for large, high-energy species. For animals like the great white shark, which depend on long migrations and stable environmental corridors to hunt, reproduce, and maintain balance in the food chain, the growth of these zones could reshape traditional migration routes, compress habitats, and increase competition in the remaining oxygen-rich areas. This does not mean that great white sharks are disappearing from the oceans, but it does mean that their movements are becoming more tightly linked to invisible environmental boundaries, turning chemistry and temperature into forces as powerful as predators or physical barriers. What makes this especially important is that apex predators play a key role in maintaining healthy ecosystems, regulating prey populations, and contributing to balance across entire marine regions. So when their available habitat narrows, the effects can spread far beyond a single species. The part of the ocean they avoid today serves as a warning because it shows that even the most efficient hunters have limits, and when those limits are tested by environmental change, behavior shifts long before collapse becomes visible. If you want to keep exploring how science reveals the hidden rules that govern our planet's most powerful ecosystems, subscribe to the channel and join us in the next investigation beneath the surface. Until the next episode.